Hello, good evening. Thanks for joining us. It's Matt's here again, and I'm doing another one of my little chats here, the tech talks that I do. This is a series of programs that I do where I invite people onto my channel, artists, creators, people who make these wonderful things and drum machines, to talk about technology, to talk about production, to talk about all those kind of different things. This is a live stream, so if you're here live, I can see there's some people here in the chat. Do say hello, and if you've got any questions as well as we go along, also do ask in the chat. If you put a QQ before the questions, I'll be able to see that nice and clear. Who have we got with us? Hello, VP, Ed Random, Tracker Jack. I like that name, Tracker Jack. And yeah, thanks for everyone that's tuning in live. Today, we actually have Ed joining us from Circuit Happy, who I'll introduce in a second. And we're going to be looking at some of the wonderful products that his company makes, Circuit Happy. And the main reason for this is because the products that he makes are actually, they've become very central to my studio in terms of my production and using modular and using the computer and drum machines as a hybrid setup. He offers basically a solution that allows you to synchronize all of these things effortlessly, which is what I'm into. If you're new to this channel, please do hit the like and subscribe. My name's Matt. I make music under the name MATTHS, and you can follow me for extra live streams, video reviews, demos of all sorts of different software and hardware. So yeah, stick around. There's a lot coming up in the next few days. Right, let's introduce our guest. Here he is. There's Ed. Hello, Ed.
Hello.
Hello, mate. How are you? Are you okay?
Doing all right, thanks.
Wicked. This is, we should tell everyone, this is the Ed Shed, isn't it?
Oh yes, the Ed Shed.
The Ed Shed.
The sign over there.
And this is where, this is basically Circuit Happy HQ. So Ed, just before we look at your the products and stuff like that, just tell us a little bit about Circuit Happy as a company and just what you guys are really about.
Yeah, so I guess Circuit Happy, if we have a mission statement, it's to get people jamming together and more effortlessly and make things easier with technology. Like years ago, kind of when I started to get into synthesizers, I would go to synth meetups and things, and people would have these ambitious goals of getting everybody synced up and jamming together. And there's always one person that's kind of sad in the corner that either the patch cable for the clock can't make it to them, or they just don't have the right format of clock for them. And so that was stuck in the back of my head. And then years later, when Ableton Link came out, I thought about clocks again with a friend of mine, and we started a project, and that ultimately became the original version of the Missing Link, which was built on a Raspberry Pi, and I sold that for a number of years, 3-4 years, and then it's moved on to a different hardware platform now and has evolved, and it's so Circuit Happy is myself, and then help from friends along the way here and there, contracting out to them to get their expertise when I can't figure something out, or if I wanted to make my manufacturing better. I enlisted my friend Matt Campbell to help me with that, and he's really schooled me on how to make a better circuit board and make it so that it's easier to manufacture. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Circuit Happy.
Yeah, so you mentioned a couple of your main products there, the Missing Link, basically, and that's what we're going to have a look at in a second, really. But if I'm right in saying this, that the Missing Link basically is it's essentially a clock generator that offers you both CV clock, MIDI clock, and Ableton Link clock simultaneously, and it's offered in both. In fact, if I switch over to my other camera here, it's offered in both a 2 HP module, which is here, and it's also offered in where is it? There we go. As a standalone desktop unit, which is called the Missing Link Junior. So yeah, these are the main products that we're going to kind of be looking at. And I met you for the first time, Ed, at Bristronica, I think last year, and I just had to come and say hi to you because this was like, before I had this solution, I was playing around with like MIDI sync, and I was playing around with all sorts of clocking, trying to get my hybrid setup of using the computer, the modular, and drum machines just to sit happy, and it was a nightmare. And then I came across yours, and I was like, it just works. I brought it home, set it up, which is really easy to configure, and it was off. So thanks for doing that, because you've saved me so many headaches now that I can use all of this equipment and it all be synced up, and it just works seamlessly. So yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, it was funny when you popped by my booth. It was early in the morning. I was still very jet lagged, and you just said thanks, and then buzzed off. And I was like, I know that face. It took me a second to realize who I was talking to.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I love your videos. So that was cool. That was cool to know that I'm helping out.
And full disclosure, basically anyone watching this, I have actually been helping Ed out a little bit, get the product out there, because I didn't really see it much marketed, Ed. So I had to kind of throw my hat in the ring and say, look, I'd love to kind of help you with this. So yeah, just full disclosure. So let's have a look at what this product actually does, the Missing Link. And I'm going to share my screen here. Let's share that and share screen. I'm sorry if there's any technical issues with we're not sure quite why the internet's a bit iffy today, everybody. So apologize if it's a little bit wonky for you all. But this is the Missing Link. This is the website. So this is the 2HP. This is the new ML2M. So this is the Missing Link 2 M, because it's now got MIDI clock as an offering. And this is available now. I think it's shipping worldwide, isn't it, Ed?
It is, yeah. It's in a bunch of stores around the world. Europe, UK, US.
Yeah. And so with this is a 2HP module, which is cool. So it doesn't take up hardly any room in the rack, which is great. And yeah, there's actually a video that I did on the previous version of this, which was called the ML2, which didn't have the MIDI aspect. So basically in the module, you've got two configurable 5 clock outputs. So you get two outputs on it, A and B, and you can configure them to be how you want. So they can send out CV clock or reset or MIDI or combinations. You get the wireless sync across Ableton Link. Now you don't have to use Ableton, because there's a ton of programs out there now that offer you Link, such as Bitwig, Pro Tools has it. Does Logic have it? I think maybe
Logic does have it now.
Logic does have it. So they're all using this API from Ableton essentially to use Link. I mean, I've also got it in the Akai Force that I use. So you've got that, and you can also do some delay compensation with this. So yeah, I think that's it in a nutshell. And the Junior is basically exactly the same, but it's standalone. Obviously, it doesn't go in your rack, and you get the same configurable outputs, the same Wi-Fi. And in fact, today I've got both the Junior and, if I go over to that one, yeah, and let's just make that full screen. So in fact, I've got both the Missing Link ML2M and I've got the Junior here, and they're actually also synced to each other over Wi-Fi. So they're both on the same Wi-Fi network, talking to each other. And when I basically press play on one, so there's a play button on here, it'll play also on this one. And if I change the tempo of this one, so up and down, it will change the tempo also on this one. So there's no kind of master when you're using Ableton Link. And in the same respect, if I went and opened up Logic or Live, in fact, I will do that. Let me share that screen as well with you. Here we go. Share screen. There we go. And show you guys that. So you might be able to see this, but if I now go over to Ableton and I turn on Link, it will look on my network and it's found devices on the network. When I hit play on here, it will then play these guys over here. And if I press stop here, it will stop these guys over here. So my modular is perfectly synced to Ableton right now over Wi-Fi. Nice and simple.
It's also worth noting that when you can have start stop sync turned on or off. So when you hit play on one of the devices, the others can listen and start with it, or they can not listen to that, and then you have to go hit play on that device. So in a situation where you're jamming with friends, you probably don't want everybody to start at the same time, because maybe one person's doing the drum machine and one person's doing a bass line synth or something, and you want to start and stop those independently. But they'll start on the downbeat because they're aware of where they are musically in a loop. So yeah, it's going to wait for the next downbeat before it starts.
So that's right. So essentially, yeah, maybe you can just tell us, because what I've just demonstrated there is how it's all working over wireless, over the Ableton Link API. So just, yeah, my understanding is that's kind of like an invisible clock in the air here, which is always running. All of my machine, the Link and my laptop, they're all listening to that all at the same time. Even when I'm not pressing play, that clock is kind of running. And when you hit play, like you said, it waits till the start of the bar, and then everything then will play then in sync, and that's how it all stays in sync. Have I summarized that right?
Yeah. The way I like to describe it is when the first Link device boots up and joins a network, it will look for other Link devices on the network. If it doesn't find any, it says, I'm first, and then it sets up basically a virtual timeline like you would have in a DAW. And so it says, here's the grid, it starts now, and the tempo is this. And so now you know musically down the line where you are. And then when the next device joins, it says, any devices? I see one. Okay, what's the timeline? What's the grid? And what's the tempo? And it gets all that information. And then it lines itself up with that. And then every 100 microseconds, they're checking in with each other. And much like a drummer and a bassist in a band will listen to each other, and if the drummer moves up in tempo, the bass player will follow along, hopefully, if they're good. And in this case, every 100 microseconds, they're checking in, and if somebody alters anything to do with the grid or the tempo, the rest will say, there's a change, and they apply it to what they're doing.
Okay, cool. Wicked. I mean, it's really clever. So did you, I guess, you must have downloaded the API, which I guess is a set of code, and then you put that on a chip, and then you've and then you put it in these two products. I mean, that sounds like I'm oversimplifying it, because I imagine there's a lot more that goes into it. But yeah, I'd like to know a little bit more about that process. It might be quite cool for people to know about.
Yeah. So it was a very kind of organic and slow process. Like I was a frog being boiled in water, that saying, like I didn't know how heavy I was going to get when I started this. I was not really a coder, but a buddy of mine, he got the API and wrote the original code base, and then he moved away and said, I bless you, you're a developer now, and carry on and check in with me, I'll answer your questions. And so so that all of a sudden I was now learning C++. But yes, the basic idea is Ableton kind of gifted the music technology world with the Ableton Link API, and they made it very easy to integrate. It's very well designed and developed, and it's an amazing gift because they want it to be everywhere. And so It's not some proprietary thing. It's open source. You can go on GitHub and check out the code and learn from it. You could fork it if you wanted to try your own version of it. But yeah, so you integrate that into your project, and then you ask Ableton Link, give me the timeline. You can ask it, where am I in the timeline? Where am I inside of a loop in that timeline? And it gives you a number, and then it's up to you to decide, how do I use that number? And so originally it was on the Raspberry Pi, so that was developing in a Linux environment. And now I'm on the ESP32, which is the company Espressif makes, and that is more of an embedded system. So it's similar to Linux, but a lot more closer to the metal. And you, it's a little more, you have a lot more control over what you're doing in that system.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, that's really interesting. And I do want to talk about the MIDI clock and that kind of thing, but I think while we're still talking about setting up Link and stuff, I've just shared a screen here because there's actually there is a web address that you can go to where you can then essentially configure the ML2M to on your web browser. So I'm just looking at this here, so you can set the tempo here if you want. Obviously, you can set the tempo in your DAW, and it will change here. And remember, with the API, with the Link API, there's no real master, so you can change the tempo from your modular, from this web browser, or even from your DAW, and it will update everywhere. And there's things that you can do here as well, where you can change the output of the A and the B, which are the physical outputs on it. So I've got mine set to sending out clock out of A. You can send a reset out of A, you can send clock always on, so it will always be generating that even when it's stopped. You can send out the PPQN as well. Now, I've got you see, I've got this set up as my master. This is my master clock in my system. And so it basically feeds Pamela's workout. So Pamela's is slaved to this. So Pamela is receiving 24 PPQN clock, 5 millisecond triggers, which it seems to like. And then out of output B, I'm sending a clock reset. So whenever I hit play, it will send out a reset on that first bang. I mean, I could set that so it gets a reset at the clock stop, actually, which might work better because because maybe, I don't know, can there be an issue if you send a reset at clock start, Ed? Is there a potential that it will be slightly out of time because it's sending a clock start reset at the start point?
Right, you can change the alignment, so you can say at clock edge, or you can have it go just before. And so that
there we go.
Depending on the sequencer. And actually, if you're using PAM, I would recommend setting clock to always on, and I would use a run signal instead of the reset. So run would be a gate that's high while playing and then low while off, unless you're using that reset trigger elsewhere in your system.
Yeah. Well, this seems to work well for me. I don't know why,
cool.
but yeah, I mean, I'll try what you said as well. But the clock output, and then I didn't have it set actually before clock, so now I've done that. That's cool. That's kind of nice. You see that on the image update there if you change it for at clock and before clock. And that's really it, folks, in terms of like configuring. It's that simple. Now, I will add that there's the outputs can be configured. Now there's two physical outputs, isn't there? There's A and B, and you can configure them so you can actually change it into what's called MIDI mode. And you can set this here, or you can do it on the device. And when you're in MIDI mode, it now offers you the ability to send MIDI clock out of output B. And then you plug in one of these, where is it? Have I got one handy? Yeah, a splitter. You can then use one of these splitters, which actually comes with a splitter in the box, I think. And then
yes,
you can send basically clock out of one half of the splitter and reset out the other splitter.
Yeah, this is the one that comes with it in the box. Nice in the
Yeah.
Circuit Happy branded, and also
Wicked.
you can't lose it.
So you get clock out of one of those, and you get reset out the other one, and then you'll get out of output B, you'll get MIDI clock as well. And I think it also comes with a MIDI adapter, doesn't it? So everything's there in the box.
Yeah, you get the.
Yeah, wicked.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I want you to be able to get going right away and not go, oh, I need an adapter too. I want it to be easy again, right? That's my whole ethos.
And I applaud that, because the fact that you open up the box, you've got everything that you need just to get going is great. You don't have to start like trawling around trying to find the right MIDI adapter as well, because is the MIDI output, is it MIDI A or B type TRS, or
it's A, yeah.
It's A, yeah.
Yeah.
The industry really needs to sort that out, because I mean, it's like I've got so many and I don't know which one's A or B, and I have to plug them in and literally test them. I should label them or something like that.
Yeah, I should have printed type A on here.
That's all good. I'm just checking to see if there's any questions or anything in the chat. There's quite a few people who have joined us tonight. Thank you again, everyone who's here. Azio Head is in the room. If anyone's got any questions about this, then do let us know. Ed Random, who's here, has said I believe he's just got one. Did he say? Yeah, he got one a few weeks ago. So Ed's in the chat. He's got one, and so yeah, be interested to know how you're getting on with that. Oh yeah, he's made a good point actually in the chat, is that you can actually add shuffle to the clock output as well. So was that just kind of something you just thought would be really interesting in, just to add that kind of ability to shuffle? Or
yeah, it was a request from various customers, and I heard it enough that I was like, okay, that'll be fun to implement. And now that I've got a kind of a really stable clock generator, I'm starting to branch out a little bit and think, okay, what are fun things that you could do with clock that might mess it up a little bit, get creative, happy accidents. The modular thing is all about happy accidents. So now I want to find ways to kind of mess up the clock in a controlled way, not in a chaotic, well, maybe a chaotic way, but in a way that's intentional, not a bug.
Yeah, so, I think I've given you a few sort of hints about what I think would be quite interesting. Can we talk about that a little?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So one of the things that I found interesting for everyone who's listening here, one of the things that I think would be quite interesting when using clock is to, at the minute, this and most clocks just kick out, 24 ppqn or whatever, just and it's just continuous. And my
seem to have lost your audio right when you dug into
Here you go.
Ah,
I ran out of battery.
oh no.
Yes, the beauty of
So
live streaming.
yeah, you dropped out right as you were digging into talking about maths mode.
Yeah, so maybe we'll call it maths mode, this thing, or crazy clock or something like that. So as I was saying, what I'd like to see is having an irregular clock coming from this, because it affects everything downstream. So imagine you've got a sequencer and you're clocking it from, so instead of it kicking out 16 ppqn, it's missing out every third, or it's sending a Euclidean kind of rhythm to your sequencer. And what that's going to do, it's going to affect everything downstream. And I think there's so much more we can have fun with in terms of clocking. Clocking, in a way, is still, well, for me, it's a bit boring. You know, it's not that exciting in modular, and really, I think we can make it a lot more fun and do a lot more with it. So, yeah, I think I've given Ed some homework to do.
Yes,
But
hopefully, by around Christmas time, we'll see an update, and maybe the at least the first bits of that will see the light of day. And while people are on winter break, they can start making some happy accidents.
Great. So anyone who's got one, you're getting an early Christmas present from Ed, and with this maths mode. And I'll do a little video of it over Christmas. I'm sure I'll do a little jam with it, just like showing it sort of wonky clock or whatever it's going to be called. But I do like the idea of maths mode. That's cool. Just wondering if there's any other questions at all. Be interested if anyone's here who's got one, how you're using it, what equipment you're using it with as well. That'd be great. So yeah, so let me go over back to the modular. There we go, so we can see that. So there's the physical outputs A and B, the ones that can be configured. And on the front panel, you've got your play button. So you just hit play and you stop, and you see everything jump into action. You can change the tempo here incrementally, which again sends out over Wi-Fi. You can see the Wi-Fi there when it's connected. It sends that out over link and will update anything that's listening or connected to it, such as Ableton or Bitwig. You've got tap tempo as well that you can use. And the other cool thing about this, I really like, Ed, is that if you don't want to use your home Wi-Fi, you can actually have this broadcast and generate its own Wi-Fi, what do you call it, hotspot or whatever. So that's great. If you're playing out live and you don't want to use if you're playing in a venue and there's a million people in there or whatever, all on the same Wi-Fi, and you're also using that Wi-Fi, it's going to maybe be a bit flaky. So the fact that this can generate its own, which is password protected, I believe, or at least kind of semi-hidden, password protected. So you can basically generate your own Wi-Fi in that venue. That is really cool. And the same goes for the Junior as well. That can also do the same thing. I've just unplugged it because I'm now powering my microphone from the power supply. And I should add, this is powered by USB-C there as well, and you see the MIDI and the A and B outputs on that. This is really light and really small as well, Ed. I mean, I'll just show you in terms of like the size, holding it in my hand. I mean, that is your sync solution there, and it fits in your pocket. That's really cool, man. So I'm amazed how you can like squeeze it all in such small. Well, not only that, you got it into that as well, 2 HP kind of thing.
Yeah, that was a bit more of a trick.
Right. Ed in the chat was saying he's got to say it leaks light to the neighbor's module, but I believe, Ed, if you go on the software, you can turn down the lights a little bit.
You could, yeah. I do want to maybe find a way to be a better neighbor to the other modules, so that yeah.
Is that a thing then? Is that a thing that module makers sort of think about? It's like, am I a good neighbor to my neighboring modules?
I guess maybe some do. Yeah, I think I need to 3D print some baffling or something that will go in there and kind of wrap around the light. So it's being a better neighbor.
So, but I mean, you're not a massive company in respect that you don't have like 50 employees or anything like that. It's pretty much you guys assembling these as well yourself. And I saw something go out in your newsletter recently where you showed some behind the scenes of like you guys manufacturing and pulling these things together by hand, basically.
Yes. So with the Missing Link Junior, I got it manufactured by a company in California, Electro Smith. They're the people behind Qubit Audio and 2HP as well. And so I did that one with them. But then with ML2M, my buddy Matt, he convinced me that we absolutely need to be making these in-house. I think he just wanted the toys. But so now we have a pick and place machine and a small surface mount oven for getting all the solder to melt into place. And so ML2 was built in-house.
Wicked. So someone just mentioned that these are sold out in the UK now. They were in Elevate Sounds. I think they've now sold, and they are, I think, in terms of they're sold out at Schneider's as well in the EU.
Yep. But they just arrived at Amsterdam or MIDI Amsterdam. So, and they're in the Netherlands. So that's another EU location. I think. Yeah. Oh, and they should be at Elevator Sound in Barcelona, which is also EU, of course.
Wicked. So people can get their hands on one. And I suppose that the cool thing as well about these is that if I'm jamming with someone and they've got one of these in their case and I've got one in the case, we can just sync them together wirelessly and we're solid, we're rock tight. So it's great for jamming. Oh, didn't you do something at Schneider's bureau with this kind of earlier in the year where you just you went in and synchronized the whole shop?
Yeah, it's been since they started carrying the Missing Link desktop, like 6 years ago. It's been my dream to spread a bunch of them around the shop and sync things up. So we did it temporarily. I came in and did a talk about my devices, and then we had ML2s and juniors kind of spread out through the shop, and everything was in sync, and it was, gotta say, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the idea of that. So, I'd like to see that maybe at a Bristronica or a trade show or something. It'd be great to have like a little room where just loads of cases are just synced up. People could come in and jam away. That'd be nice.
Yeah. I'm trying to do it more at trade shows. So I'm going to be at Buchla and Friends in LA at the end of January. So I'm going to have a jam room there. So that's the first kind of bigger event that I'll be doing that at. I do it at synth meetups all the time, and I feel like I need to maybe put together like a synth meetup 5-pack or something of juniors and ML2s or something, and so that I can send them out or sell them at a discount for people that want to get together and jam out.
Yeah, wicked, man. Yeah, that's really cool. Well, like I say, it's just nailed it in terms of all of my sync needs so far, I have to say. There has been some people asking, well, it hasn't got an input. I mean, it can listen to the link, so it's listening from your DAW as such, but there's no physical input. So if you want to slave it to Pamela's or something like that, that's come up a number of times. Is there potentially anything that can be developed, or is that something you've thought about for future revisions or anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I've prototyped the idea. Actually, while we were working on Junior, it worked on the idea, and it does work pretty well. It needs some refinement and whatnot, so it didn't make it into Junior in time, but it will come into a future product for sure. Yeah, hopefully mid next year.
Wicked.
We'll see. It will happen.
Great. Happy days. Well, for now, I'm perfectly happy with mine and what it's doing. So yeah, thanks again. Thanks for making it and making my life so
Right.
much easier. I mean, the amount of time that I spent like just trying to get like MIDI was just so sloppy for synchronization. And I guess that's maybe, you know, bottlenecks and I don't know. You've got lots of information running down over MIDI. I don't know. Something wasn't quite right. I'm sure you probably know more about it. And then there was these other boxes that were very expensive. I can't remember what they were called. And they kind of would listen to an incoming signal from two places and try and create an offset and move them. And it was, oh man, spent hours trying to just get things synchronized. But now it's done with a push of a button, essentially. Cool. Well, we've been on air now for nearly 45 minutes. I don't want to keep you too much longer. Any other news or anything else you want to share before we call it a day?
No, I think we covered everything. Thank you so much for having me and getting the word out.
Yeah, no worries. Like I say, I'm just really happy to do this and help out companies as yourself and to let people know more about this. I mean, the amount of times actually that I've spoken to people about this and they go, "Oh, really? I didn't know about that one." And then I show them it and they're like, "Great, happy days. That's what I need." So yeah, happy to do that. Thanks for coming on. It's been
Cool.
really interesting. Yeah, thanks for everyone that's joined us live and supporting the channel so far. There's an abundance of videos about to go out from me on a number of things. Something that I've been doing about how I'm designing my kick drums. There's one about AI where I think I've had my music AI'd, if that makes sense. And I got a copyright strike from music that copied mine. You'll see, it's all coming up. And go also check out my 3-part video on the Clank Oracle system up here as well, where it's a new system by Clank. I think there's some 10% off at the minute or something like that. Go check that one out. What else have I got coming up? Yeah, I'm also going to be talking about how I do live streaming and the camera setup and the lighting and stuff for you musos out there who might be interested in getting into that. Also my mastering chain, favorite tech of 2024. And I've also got a special Christmas cracker bonanza coming up where I'm doing a live stream and I'm inviting some of my mates on. So we've got Gaz Williams, we've got Heimbach, we've got Milo Melodies and a few others as well who is hopefully going to join me throughout the day near Christmas, and they're going to join me for a drink online. We're going to talk about the year and their favourite tech and what's happening in 2025. It's just a nice kind of hangout that's going to happen over Christmas. So if you hit the bell, you'll get notified about those kind of things when we are going live, and that gets sorted. Ed, thank you so much. What time is it there? You've got the whole day ahead of you, haven't you?
I do. It's just one in the afternoon. Yeah.
Great. Well, it's nearly bedtime here. No, not quite. But yeah, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for building these brilliant products of yours. And yeah, can't wait for maths mode.
Soon.
Anyway, and thanks to everyone who's joined us live today as well, and for all of your support. Do hit the thumbs up. It really helps this channel and the visibility of the video. So yeah, thanks everyone. Have a great evening, and speak to you all, or see you all in the future. Bye.